Okay, what's this? All right. Can I call the meeting to order and we'll do a roll call?
All right, I'm just going to go in order on my screen. Mr. Shaheen,
Yes,
and you are attending virtually, correct?
yes,
Okay. Mr. Sealanders,
Here virtually.
Mr. Kramer,
Yep, I'm attending virtually from my home in Bath.
and Mr. Almarigi.
I'm here and I am in my office in East Lansing, Michigan.
Okay. So we do have 4. We have a quorum.
is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
A second.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Are there any disclosure of conflicts of interest? Hearing none, we'll move on to general public comment. This is a point on the agenda. If there's somebody in the audience who wishes to speak to something not on the agenda, this is the time to raise that concern.
If so, you can raise your physical hand, raise your Zoom hand, or dial *9 to raise your hand.
Hearing none, I'll move forward to a motion to approve the minutes of May 18th, 2021.
So moved.
It's been moved by Bill,
I'll second it.
seconded by, excuse me. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the approval of the minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have any old
Chairman
business?
Shaheen, could we recognize that an alternate, Mr. Haran, has joined us?
Yes, I was wondering if he was here. Mr. Haran, welcome, and it should be noted in the minutes that he's part of the discussion. Is there any old business? If not, we'll entertain new business. We have a variance request, and I don't want to mess up the pronunciation, but I believe it's Vallabhaneni. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, it's Vallabhaneni. Yeah,
Say that slowly.
it's Vallabhaneni.
Vallabhaneni. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Welcome. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Thank you.
Would you please explain to us what you want from us and why you think we are entitled to give it to you?
So I last year I bought a property in Hazlet, Michigan, which has a parcel on which there are 2 buildings. So when I bought it, because only the one parcel has 2 buildings, like 2 what do you call it? 2 houses. I was not able to get a not able to get correctly financing because of having multiple houses on one parcel, and so I had to go with the only one that allowed me to finance and get the loan, and because of which I got it at a higher mortgage rate, and that is how I bought it. But this year, when all the mortgage loans rates got lower, I tried to refinance the home just to see if I could get somebody else, some other lender to allow my loan. None of the lenders were approving it because there are multiple houses on the parcel. So this just to get a better mortgage rate and trying to split the parcel into 2. That way, both the buildings would be on 2 separate parcels. That would enable me to get a better mortgage rate, and that will help me in paying off the mortgage and also the have decent chance of paying off the loans.
Okay, I'm going to turn to Bert before we open this up to questions from the board. Bert, you want to give us your background and your questions about the application before we proceed?
Sure. I'm the building official and zoning administrator for Bath Township, have been for, I don't even know how long, maybe 15, 20 years. I don't even know. So what you have here is at this property is 16964 Marsh Road. You have two homes on it. If you look at the application, it's a little bit vague. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the photo that was provided with it, it doesn't even provide any indication as to where they would like to put this new property line. We can surmise that it's somewhere between the two houses to create two different parcels. So in the zoning ordinance, it requires a side yard setback requirement of a minimum of 10 feet from each building. So in order to do this and meet the zoning regulations, you'd need to have a minimum of 20 feet between the buildings in order to maintain the zoning regulations. Additionally, don't forget, we don't measure side setbacks from the building. We measure it from the eve line. So if there's any overhangs that we can't see on that photograph, those need to be taken into consideration as well. So I would suspect that the Zoning Board of Appeals is going to want to find out from the applicant the exact distance between the proposed new property line and the projected line down where the eaves are, so that they know what is being asked of them tonight. The next thing is that I will say that in the event that there is a split done here, that the parcels that will remain, the two parcels that will be created, will meet all the other zoning regulations as it relates to the placement of the buildings. It's just the side lot lines that would be created with splitting these two parts, putting each of these houses on its own parcel.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the discussion of the board. Please proceed with questions as you have them.
So maybe just, go ahead, Robert.
Bert, has the assessor's office looked at this? I mean, is he even going to be able to divide it or split it, I should say?
I have no idea if the assessor's office has looked at it. Although I will tell you that the assessor's office, regardless of what they might say, wouldn't impact this board's decision.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the Land Division Act,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sure.
I'm curious whether or not he would even comply with the Land Division Act if we were to grant him the right for a variance.
Yeah, so if in the event that you guys grant a variance tonight, his next step would be to go to the assessor and fill out an application for a land division. And then the assessor, being the administrator of the land division ordinance and act, would have to determine if they meet all the criteria of both the Land Division Act and the Land Division Ordinance.
All right, the second question I have is this property within the Marsh Road I-69 exchange access area? It's really close, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nick, do you know the answer to that?
I'll check the map right now. My gut is telling me no, but I'll double check.
I'm sorry, Robert, I'm actually out of office, as you can probably tell by the background.
Well, I figured it was just some sort of a superimposed fictitious background.
No, it's real.
He's in Minnesota.
Right.
Dan, you had a question?
I was just going to go back to your first, or actually Bert's comment. So what exactly is the distance between the two dwellings right now? And so what kind of setback would remain if we allow the split between the two buildings?
Excellent.
Nick, I guess.
I got two pieces of information.
Okay.
First of all, this does lie within that overlay district, the Marsh Road overlay district. Secondly, there's approximately 12 feet between those two structures right now.
Is that at the eve lines or at the wall lines?
I could not answer that as I'm doing a rough measurement on GIS.
You did the same thing I did prior to the meeting.
I'd ask a question to the applicant. What was your intention, to divide the space equally? The board needs to know what size variance it's being asked to approve.
it cannot be an even split because of the location of the buildings close to one another. So I think it cannot be an even split for sure. Yeah.
Then what are the dimensions you're requesting? Because one could be neutral to a variance and the other one could be great. It's hard for the board to determine whether a variance is appropriate until they know the size of the variance.
Can I just
Yeah.
provide slight clarification here for the applicant? So the question is not necessarily about splitting the entire parcel into two even sizes. It's talking about splitting that 12 feet. Would it be 6 foot setback from the proposed property line to each of those structures? Or would it be 8 feet one way and 4 feet the other way, or 10 feet one way, 2 feet the other way?
Will the resulting parcel be less than 1 acre?
This is a single family home. So that would not apply because it only requires a minimum of
I think the minimum
20,000
size
square
is
feet.
20,000.
Yeah, but I'm interested in, once again, we're back to the Land Division Act. He'd have to, were you planning on putting in public water and sewer? Right now, you're probably septic, aren't you?
Yes. Yes, I'm planning on getting a public water and sewer down the line. Yes.
Let's go back to the variance then. What was your intention in response to the question? How much, what space would be split? Which, is it even 6 feet to each, or is there a difference?
The surveyor gave me a sketch. It says proposed split, and the document says 6.4 on one side and 7.4 on the other. From the other side, I do not know if that is what you're referring to.
That, I think those are the numbers we're looking for, aren't? What's the staff's interpretation? If that's what the survey told you, that seems to be the question we're asking.
Yeah, 12.8 is the distance between both the buildings, and 6.4 and 7.4 is the distance between the proposed split area. Yes.
Those numbers don't add up. That would be
Do you have-
13
Do
feet.
you have that sketch or that survey?
Yeah, I do have it. Yes.
You got it, Nick? You can put it on the screen?
I was not provided that sketch, no.
Can you hold it up to the screen? Do you have it right there?
Okay, I can show you one. I think I'm disabled to share anything from my screen.
Hold on just a second. I can give you access to do that. Okay, you should be able to now.
Oh, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes. There's an angle going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, so if the board will notice, I don't know which way, north, south, east, or west here, so I'm just gonna say down and up, if that's okay.
Down
Right.
would be west and up would be east.
Oh, thank you. So if you,
I apologize, I have that backwards.
okay, so on one end, you have 12 feet for that building, which would be compliant. The other end is 7.4 feet, which is not compliant. So it's lacking, what, 2'6" to be 10 feet. On the other building, you got 6.4, which would not be compliant. They would need a variance of 3.6 feet. And then on the other end, we have 7.4 feet. They need a variance of 2.6 feet. If that helps the board.
This is prior non-conforming, right? Well, actually, this is in a commercially zoned area, right? Currently
Yes.
commercial.
Yes.
Sir, have you consulted with counsel about the best use of this property?
Yes, they gave me a document. The Bath Township actually gave me a document. I can show you. I think 1 second. 1 second.
We're gonna need a copy of that drawing that you just put on the screen for us for the file.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Whether or not you're successful in getting a variance or not, so that it can be reflected in the minutes.
Bert, when it comes time to it, we look at the criteria for approval. We didn't get one with a packet, so you might want to share that when we get there.
Nick, can you screen share when the time comes, section 22.05?
Absolutely.
Kurt, I have a question maybe for you or anyone else that maybe can answer this. So the applicant is concerned about, I guess, a bank's determination that there's two living structures on this parcel, and therefore the mortgage rate is higher. What is the difference between a living structure and an accessory building? And maybe this would go to the applicant too, is what's the intended purpose of both of these buildings, you know, either now or after the split? I mean, can you convert what is now some place that you can live in to an accessory building to avoid the determination that there are two dwellings on the parcel?
It's entirely possible to turn one or the other of them into an accessory structure. Of course, that would take some effort on the applicant's part, because if it meets the definition of a single family dwelling, then it is one. So the cooking facilities would need to be taken out and these kinds of things.
Bert, I'd
And
like
there's-
to, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I thought our ordinance allows for, what do we call those?
Echo housing.
Yeah, or a mother-in-law home or something like that, right? I mean, isn't
Yep.
this kind of what this is? But is that still,
Yeah.
a bank would still determine this as being two dwellings on the same parcel?
Yeah, lending institutions has their own set of rules as it relates to who knows what.
Okay.
I don't know
Functional
if this would
family.
qualify as echo housing or not, because I don't know the circumstances behind it. So I don't know if it would qualify for that.
I don't believe, in my knowledge, it's ever been approved for that, not in my time on the board.
The
Yeah,
piece of, sorry, the piece of information I wanted to add too is this structure, the 32.4 feet by the 28.4 feet. It says that it's an apartment building with 3 apartments in it. So that sort of raises another question, because that under our zoning ordinance would not be defined as a single family home. So that would raise the question that Rob had brought up earlier about the minimum lot size.
That's a great catch, Nick. And you're absolutely right. Can the applicant
It's not.
provide some clarity as to how old these buildings are?
These buildings are very old. The single-family home is 1940 built, and it was renovated sometime in 1990s. One section was built. The second floor was built and remodeled in 1990. And the apartment building, it's not a three-story building or three apartment. It's a basement with a townhome, wherein it could be termed as, maybe we can term it as 2 apartments, but not as 3 apartments. It is actually a townhome with a basement. And that is also like 1980 or 1990 built, the apartment home.
And what's the intended use of both of these buildings then?
The 6964, the single family home. I'm planning on moving into it. I'm getting some renovations done currently, and I'm planning on moving into it after the renovation is done. And then the apartments next to it are actually rented out, and that is where they are standing at this point of time. And I tried explaining this to all the lenders, saying that this is a mother-in-law kind of terminology is used for these kind of dwellings. If at all there are multiple on the same property, but none of the lenders took that notion, and everybody came back and said, no, we cannot allow this as a single family home, so we cannot accept this. So that is the reason why I'm trying to get some kind of thing going on. The only purpose of getting this split done is to get a better mortgage loan and decent rates for me to pay the loans. And considering that when I bought the property, it was close to $10,000 as the property tax. Now it is close to $21,000. So the property taxes, because of the recent purchase, it manifolded almost 200%. So I'm having really hard time to pay those things.
Dan, the question about use is sort of where I was trying to go with when I was asking the applicant about, has he consulted with counsel? This property is, we could grant the variance, but he may not be able to do what he wants to do with it, even if he had the variance. If it's less than an acre, the Land Division Act wouldn't allow him to develop the property for another house unless he put in public water and sewer and all sorts of other things. The property is zoned commercial. It's almost better to do a site condo or to actually subdivide it, plat it. And that would require him consulting with counsel. I'm concerned that granting him the variance would not allow him to do what he wants to do anyway.
Well, it sounds like there's more hurdles than just the one before us here, right? So it'd be great if there, I mean, it's really not maybe our business, but you're right. So what we're doing here is maybe not ultimately going to help the applicant.
Out of curiosity, do you also own the parcel north of that parcel, 16944 Marsh Road?
Yes, I own that one too. It's a 0.75 acre property. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think Dan mentioned something in passing that I'm worried about, which is the economic issue we're trying to deal with our business? And are we constituted to deal with economic relief in granting a variance?
Well, I can sort of help with that. It all comes right back down to your variance standards. And if you go take a look at them, I think you'll get clarity on that.
Yeah, that's why I raised it. I think you raised it in a previous conversation. I think it's a good point. Usually the Board of Appeals tries to help clients resolve a situation that hurts them, that doesn't create worse conditions that they didn't create. We have 4 standards that we have to deal with, but economic relief isn't one of them. And cost and profit are not our areas of jurisdiction.
Sure.
And clearly, without going into the other 3 criteria, C on that list is very problematic. I mean, it's clear, I think, from anybody looking at that the special conditions and circumstances did result from the actions or will result from the actions of the applicant. Without the split, there's no problem. With the split, that's where the problem comes in.
Thank you, Dan. Does the applicant understand what we just said?
Nick's put your administrative review items, he's highlighted the 4 items that you have the power to do, and then he's about to scroll down for your variance standards. I'd suggest, so that Taylor can get these in the minutes, that you go down them one at a time so that she can put something in the minutes as it relates to each A, B, C, and D.
In terms of our review and findings.
You want me to read these, Bert?
If the others don't have that in front of them, I think it's important that you read it, yes.
Okay. So the 4 criteria are A, that there are practical difficulties which stand in the way of carrying out the strict letter of the zoning ordinance, and there are special conditions and circumstances which exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. B, that literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this ordinance. C, that the special conditions and circumstances necessitating the variance did not result from the actions of the applicant. And D, that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district.
Thank you. And as somebody pointed out, C seems to be the guts.
Nick, could you scroll your screen down so we can take a look at A again? The Board of Zoning Appeals shall have the power and duty to authorize upon the appeal in specific cases such a variance from the provisions of this ordinance as will not be contrary to the public interest where owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions of this ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship or a practical difficulty. Nick, where were the 4 items that you had up a few minutes ago?
That was up above the powers of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, so
It's on the screen.
yeah. So I don't think there's anything there necessarily that you need to read. Just for the applicant's sake, I wanted him to understand that the board does have the ability to approve or deny this request as he's asking for. But they have to go through those standards that Nick read, 22.05, and to help them make that determination.
And I'll say to the applicant, the point made by Rob is a very serious point for him to consider. We would actually be doing something to create a problem if we approve this, both for you and for the ordinance. Right now, you have a legally conforming lot. Everything is in fine shape. We don't have any jurisdiction or any concerns with it. But if we were to take action to give you what you're asking for, we would create difficulties, which I don't think we have the authority to do. It would trouble me to do that.
How about this? What if we, just speaking hypothetically here, if we granted him the variance and he didn't act upon it for 180 days, it would expire. And giving him the ability to do what he wants to do, again, I think the highest best use of this property is not residential, it's commercial. You're right next to a commercial lot, and I see the development on Marsh Road going south, right where your property is.
My guess is he's an intelligent businessman. He bought the property with intent. He's bought a stretch over there. Business is his purpose. His judgments about business are his. We don't belong in that arena in terms of what we're doing. I think it's good to warn him that he needs to think, but I think he's fairly intelligent. I think his primary motivation is to reduce his interest rates, and that's not our function.
Well, and I'd just add too that I don't think the bank is necessarily wrong in this case, right? I mean, if his intention is to continue using this as a rental property, anybody else, any other place in the township that had this kind of circumstance would run into the same problem. Now, it's different to say that he bought the property and he's not using it as a rental anymore. He's using it privately for his own use. Then that might be a problem, but that's easily reconciled by other means. So, I don't think he's being treated differently from the bank than anyone else. So I'm not sure even that relief, even though it's not our purview, right, is reasonable anyway.
Is there any further discussion? Is there a sense of emotion?
Taylor, Paul, could I ask Taylor? Taylor, do you have enough information to get something down for each one of them standards for the minutes?
I think so. I think I feel confident in that.
Okay, I'll go back to my question. Is there a sense of emotion here?
I'll move to reject the variance based on, among other things, that the special condition and circumstance would result from the action of the applicant.
Is there support for that motion?
I support it.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I would call the question. All those in favor of the motion to reject the applicant, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If not, the motion is approved to deny. I'm sorry we had to do that, but I think you understand our rationale and our constraints. And as we move forward, that's important. We welcome you to Bath as a resident, and we look forward to working with you on as the case may arise in the future. Is there another agenda item? Under other business, a couple of issues have come up that I want to talk about. One is Rob pointed out that we have a problem with the difference between our printed ordinance and our electronic ordinance. After conversations with staff is preparing printed ordinances for all those who want them on the commission, so that you'll have the correct document in front of you in paper, as well as having access to an electric copy. The discussion also went with Joe Benzie and others that we will produce a couple of extra printed copies so the public has access to them in printed form for those who don't have electronic access or electronic capabilities. I want to thank Rob for raising that question and the discrepancy. I think we've got it. It will be taken care of quickly.
Paul,
Yeah,
can I just get clarification as to who you had spoken with about this? Was it anyone aside from myself?
I didn't reach you on this one because I thought you were leaving, and my understanding was it was going to be printed and you were leaving and it didn't get printed. So I called the board, I called Joe Benzie and talked to Taylor, and both of them agreed that we could get printed copies available.
Okay.
And without a difficulty. They see that we've moved to an electronic world, but not everybody is electronic. And both my style, when I have you deliver my mail and stuff, it's because I need paper. You may have it available in electronic form, but it doesn't help me. And so we're trying to recognize there are some people in the township, either older or different styles or different capacities to get access to electronics that wanted paper. So we'll proceed with that.
Okay, that's not a problem. I just wanted to make sure that that ball didn't get dropped.
No, thank you.
Did I hear you correctly in saying in you saying that the electronic version was not up to date?
No, the electronic version is up to date, but the printed copies we have is not.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Well,
Sure.
So, and Paul, what electronic version are you referring to?
The township maintains an electronic copy of the
On the
ordinance.
township website.
Yeah,
That's not up to
Okay.
date either.
Well, if you go, if you,
But I was just going to say that the Muni Code version is 2018, right? And I've been asking for months, maybe years, to have the township update the Muni Code version. And so many people, including myself, go to that place first because it's easy to navigate, right? So I mean, if all of you could ask people in the township to update the Muni Code version also, that would be very, very helpful.
well, Nick, let me ask you, Nick, what's in the way of our updating that code? Is there a reason we haven't done it?
At this point, there shouldn't be anything in the way. The board has approved that expenditure. And so it's just reminding Superintendent Hildebrandt to move forward with that.
Okay,
But I don't really want to touch on that anymore because I have not gone through that experience before of having that codification updated.
She and I actually spoke about that today. We are working on getting that facilitated right now.
excellent. Thank you very much. That's helpful. Does anybody else have any other business they wish to bring forward?
I just want to say, good luck to you, Nick. You're leaving, and welcome back, Bert.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
But I never left.
Okay, is there, the next item of business is additional public comment? Is there any additional public comment?
If so, you may raise your physical hand, raise your Zoom hand, or dial *9.
Hearing none, we'll move to item 10, adjournment. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Second,
Second that. I'll second it.
been supported. Thank you all for your help and good luck, Nick, as Rob said, in your new job. We appreciate the help you've been in the past.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay.
Everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.